Imagine this: a single signature, one pen stroke on a piece of paper, and an entire civilization 5,000 years old vanishes into someone else's empire. No cannons, no grand invasion, no battlefield where heroes fell in glory. Just silence and surrender. You've been told the British conquered India. But what if that's a lie? What if the truth is far more heartbreaking because it wasn't stolen? It was given away by kings, by princes, by men who wore crowns but forgot their people. This isn't just history. This is betrayal wrapped in velvet robes. This is power handed over like a birthday gift. And today you'll never see colonialism the same way again. Stay with me. Because in the next 12 minutes, you'll uncover how the world's richest empire didn't fall to guns. It collapsed from within. Let's rewind not to 1857, not even to 1757, but to the early 1700s. The Mughal Empire, once the dazzling jewel of global wealth, is crumbling. Emperor Aurangzeb is dead. His successors are weak, distracted, and drowning in courtly intrigue. Across the subcontinent, regional powers rise: Marathas in the west, Nawabs in Bengal, Sikhs in Punjab, Rajputs in Rajasthan. India isn't one nation, it's dozens of kingdoms, often at war with each other. And into this chaos sails a quiet predator, the British East India Company. Now, don't picture red-coated soldiers storming forts. At first, the company wasn't even a government, it was a corporation. A trading outfit licensed by the British Crown to buy spices, textiles, and indigo. They arrived humbly, bowing to local rulers, asking only for trading posts. Factories, they called them, in Surat, Madras, Calcutta. But corporations crave profit. And profit demands control. Here's the brutal truth: Britain never invaded India as a state. There was no declaration of war from London. No fleet sent by Parliament. Instead, a private company with its own army, its own currency, and its own laws, slowly stitched together an empire through treaties, debts, and deception. How? By exploiting India's greatest weakness: division. When the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dowlah, tried to expel the British from Calcutta in 1756, he didn't face King George, he faced Robert Clive, a clerk-turned-soldier working for shareholders in London. And Clive didn't win with superior numbers. He won because he bribed Siraj's own general, Mir Jafar. In exchange for betrayal, Mir Jafar became the new Nawab and handed Bengal, the richest province in India, to the company on a silver platter. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 wasn't a conquest. It was a corporate takeover disguised as war. From there, the pattern repeated. The company played kingmakers. They'd back one ruler against another, fund rebellions, then demand compensation in land or revenue. When rulers couldn't pay, the company took control legally, officially, with signed documents. By 1800, the East India Company ruled over 40 million Indians. Not by force alone, but by consent. Consent extracted through fear, greed, or desperation. Consider this: between 1765 and 1833, the company collected over £100 million in revenue from India, equivalent to £13 trillion today. Much of it came not from taxes on peasants, but from treaties signed by Indian royals who traded sovereignty for survival. The doctrine of lapse, introduced by Lord Dalhousie in the 1840s, was the final nail. If an Indian ruler died without a natural heir, his kingdom would lapse to the company. Adoption? Invalid. Tradition? Irrelevant. Satara, Jhansi, Nagpur, all swallowed not by war, but by bureaucratic decree and signatures on fading parchment. Even after the 1857 rebellion, the so-called Sepoy Mutiny, when the British Crown finally took direct control, it wasn't through invasion. Queen Victoria issued a proclamation honoring Indian princes who had stayed loyal. Over 560 princely states remained nominally independent, but bound by treaties that gave Britain control over defense, foreign policy, and communications. In essence, India wasn't colonized in a day. It was dismantled piece by piece, with rulers signing away their birthright for promises of protection, pensions, or prestige. And here's the haunting part: many of those rulers knew what they were doing. They chose short-term security over long-term freedom. They prioritized their thrones over their people. So ask yourself, if your ancestors had refused to sign, would India still be free today? If this shook you, hit subscribe. Because history isn't just about the past, it's a warning for our future. Picture him, Nana Sahib, young, proud, adopted son of the last Peshwa of the Maratha Empire. Raised in luxury, trained in Sanskrit and strategy, heir to a legacy that once challenged the Mughals themselves. But in 1851 he receives a letter from Calcutta, cold, legal, final. The East India Company recognizes no adopted heirs. Your pension is revoked. Your title is void. Just like that his world collapses. Not because he lost a battle, not because his army failed, but because a clerk in a distant office decided his bloodline didn't count. Or consider Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, a queen barely 20, widowed, watching helplessly as British officers march into her palace, claiming her kingdom lapsed because her husband left no biological son. She pleads, she negotiates. She even offers to adopt under British supervision. But Governor-General Dalhousie refuses. Policy is policy, he writes. These aren't faceless victims. These are real people, flesh, tears, fury. Nana Sahib, stripped of dignity. Lakshmi Bai, robbed of her throne. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor, an old poet dragged from his library to lead a rebellion he never wanted. They weren't rebels by nature. They were cornered. And their stories begin not on battlefields, but in drawing rooms, where ink dried faster than courage. This is the tragedy of 19th century India. Its leaders didn't fall to invaders. They fell to paperwork. To clauses buried in treaties they barely understood. To promises whispered in English then broken in silence. You can almost hear the rustle of silk robes as a Maharaja signs away his ports. The clink of gold coins as a Nawab trades artillery access for a title. The sigh of a queen reading the letter that ends her dynasty. This isn't just political history, it's human collapse. The slow unraveling of honor, identity and sovereignty one signature at a time. And that's why when 1857 erupts, it's not just a mutiny. It's a scream from a civilization that finally realized, we gave them everything. And they took it all. But here's what no textbook tells you. Before the cannons fired in 1857, before the cry of Din Ilahi echoed through Delhi, something strange was happening in the courts of India. Secret letters, midnight meetings, coded messages passed through couriers disguised as pilgrims. Who was behind it? Was it Nana Sahib plotting in the jungles of Bithur? Or the aging Mughal emperor scribbling verses that hid rebellion in rhyme? Maybe it was the sepoys themselves, Hindu and Muslim soldiers, sharing chapatis and lotus flowers as silent signals of unity. No one knows who started it. But everyone felt it. A current running beneath the surface. A sense that the game was up. Then, in early 1857, rumors spread like wildfire. The new Enfield rifle cartridges were greased with cow and pig fat. To load the gun, soldiers had to bite the cartridge open. For Hindus, it meant sacrilege. For Muslims, defilement. But was it true? British officers denied it. Yet the doubt festered. Because by now, nothing the British said could be trusted. After decades of broken treaties, revoked pensions, and annexed lands, why believe them now? And then, Meerut. May 10, 1857. 85 sepoys refused to use the cartridges. They're court-martialed, stripped, and sentenced to hard labor. That night, their comrades rise. They break open the jails. They march to Delhi 100 miles away and place the bewildered Bahadur Shah Zafar on a throne he hadn't claimed in decades. But here is the mystery that haunts historians. How did they coordinate across hundreds of miles without phones, without telegraphs, yet rise almost simultaneously in Lucknow, Kanpur, Allahabad, and Jhansi? Who lit the fuse? Some say it was a network of dispossessed nobles. Others whisper of a secret council, the council of the disinherited meeting in hidden temples. There are accounts of coded poetry circulating in bazaars, of astrologers predicting the end of foreign rule. One thing is certain, this wasn't spontaneous rage, it was organized despair. And the British? They were blindsided. Not because they were weak, but because they never believed Indians could unite. They thought division was permanent. That greed and ego would always keep the subcontinent fractured. They were wrong. And in that moment of uprising, the truth emerged. India hadn't been conquered. It had been waiting. But even in rebellion, doubt crept in. Among the rebels themselves. Was Nana Sahib truly fighting for freedom or reclaiming his pension? Did Rani Lakshmibai fight for Jhansi? Or for vengeance? And what of the princes who stayed loyal to the British, like the Maharaja of Gwalior or the Nizam of Hyderabad? Were they traitors or realists trying to save their people from annihilation? Suspicion poisoned every alliance. In Kanpur, Nana Sahib welcomed British women and children into his camp promising safe passage. Then, days later, they were massacred. Was it his order? Or rogue soldiers? The truth remains buried in blood and blame. Meanwhile, in Delhi, Bahadur Shah Zafar, old, frail, poetic, struggled to control the very rebellion carried out in his name. Sepoys looted, factions fought. Muslims and Hindus, united at first, began to fracture under pressure. And the British? They weaponized that suspicion. They offered rewards to informants, spread rumors that Hindu rebels planned to reconvert Muslims, whispered that Muslim leaders wanted to restore Sharia law, divide and conquer. Again, even after the rebellion was crushed, the suspicion lingered. When the British hanged rebels by the thousands, tied them to cannons, exiled entire families, they didn't just punish bodies. They shattered trust between communities, between generations. Parents stopped telling children stories of resistance. Teachers erased names from memory, because to remember was dangerous. And the princes who had signed those treaties? Now they clung tighter to British favor, terrified that any show of independence would bring the doctrine of lapse down on them. Freedom became a ghost, haunting but untouchable. Because the deepest wound wasn't occupation, it was self-doubt, the fear that maybe, just maybe, India deserved this. That its own rulers had chosen comfort over courage. That suspicion, that shame, is what kept India silent for another 90 years. June 1858, Jhansi. Rani Lakshmibai stands on the ramparts of her fort. Below, British cannons roar. Above, smoke chokes the sky. She's been fighting for months, leading cavalry charges, rallying troops, sleeping in armor. She's not a queen anymore. She's a symbol. Inside the fort, her adopted son clings to her general. She kisses his forehead, whispers a prayer, then mounts her horse dressed as a man, sword in hand. Main apni Jhansi nahi dunji, I will not give up my Jhansi. She breaks through enemy lines in the dead of night, riding 100 miles to Kalpi, then to Gwalior, still fighting, still refusing to surrender. But on June 17th, near Kotaki Sarai, she faces Colonel Hugh Rose's forces, outnumbered, exhausted, alone. She fights like a storm, takes a bullet to the chest, keeps swinging. Another shot, she falls. Her body is found hours later still clutching her sword. The British, fearing her legend, cremate her immediately. No grave, no monument, just ashes scattered by wind. But they couldn't kill her spirit. Because in that moment, something shifted. The rebellion may have failed, but the myth was born. A queen who chose death over dishonor. Who proved that signatures could be undone by sacrifice. Across India, her name became a whisper. A spark. And though the British tightened their grip, exiling Bahadur Shah to Burma, executing Nana Sahib's allies, dismantling every symbol of Mughal authority, they couldn't erase what 1857 revealed. India was not a collection of kingdoms to be signed away. It was a people, and people don't stay silent forever. After 1857, everything changed. The East India Company was dissolved. The British Crown took direct control. Queen Victoria declared herself Empress of India. But the real shift was psychological. The British abandoned the illusion of partnership. No more treaties with loyal princes as equals. Now it was clear, India was a subject race, inferior, in need of civilizing. Racism became policy. Indians were barred from high military ranks. English became the language of power. History books rewrote the past, painting pre-British India as chaotic, barbaric, backward. But the rebellion also planted seeds of unity. For the first time, Hindus and Muslims had fought side by side, not as subjects of different kings, but as Indians. The idea of a shared identity began to grow. Nationalist movements emerged, not with swords, but with newspapers, schools, and speeches. Leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji and later Gandhi studied 1857 not as a failure, but as a first war of independence. The princely states? They survived but as puppets. Their treaties now ironclad. Their autonomy a facade. When independence finally came in 1947, those 560 states had to choose, join India or Pakistan. Most had no real choice. The signatures that once protected them now trapped them. And the trauma? It lingers. Even today, debates rage. Was 1857 a mutiny or a revolution? Were the rebels heroes or fanatics? The answer depends on who's telling the story. But the deeper lesson remains. Colonialism didn't just steal land, it stole agency. It made rulers believe their only value was in compliance. It taught generations that resistance was futile. Yet from that darkness rose a new India, not perfect, not unified overnight, but determined never to be signed away again. History isn't just dates and battles, it's choices. And in 1857, India learned the hardest truth. Freedom isn't taken, it's claimed. Those signatures didn't just transfer land. They revealed a fatal flaw. When leaders prioritize power over people, empires crumble from within. Today we face our own treaties, written in algorithms, policies, silence. Who are we signing away our future to? Don't just watch history. Question it. Feel it. Learn from it. If this story moved you, if it made you angry, sad, or inspired, do 3 things. Like this video. Share it with someone who thinks they know India's past. And subscribe, because the truth isn't taught, it's uncovered.